Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Card Talk, a podcast where we spend a little bit of your time talking about cards from Lord of the Rings, the Living Card Game by Fantasy Flight Games. My name is Dave Walsh.
And I'm Grant Thompson.
And today we're going to be talking about Bilbo. And he's a lore hero with 1 willpower, 1 attack strength, and 2 defense strength, and has 2 hit points. And he also has the ability to allow player to draw an extra card every turn. Grant, I'll let you start.
In all honesty, for when he was released, the idea of a card draw that hit an extra card each turn that targeted a player was a good idea. I mean, you had Bilbo, which allowed you to exhaust to draw 2 cards. You had Wine that had to exhaust to draw 1 extra card. So Bilbo having that passive ability where he didn't have to exhaust was a good thing, but the overall threat increase of that hero, I mean, his stats aren't great. That makes him an easy target if you send him a quest for a Necromancer's Reach, or an enemy that's just getting an attack increase of, say, +2. So he cannot attack, he cannot defend, he can't really quest. So basically you just put him out as a dud hero just for his card draw. In all honesty, I haven't used him since the days of the core set in the Adventures of Mirkwood Cycle. He's not a hero that I think, ooh, I need some card draw in this deck. Oh, let's hide Bilbo in. Right. There are a lot of other heroes with better threat or better stats that you can drop into your deck for card draw like that. I mean, no doubt you'll mention Pippin from the Black Riders. Or, like I've said, of Bilbo. I mean, Bilbo costs 1 extra threat, but she's got 2 across the board and 4 hit points. So, to me, yes, you have to exhaust her, but you're getting 2 card draw out of her for her stats are amazing. So you can send out a quest, and then you can either ready her with Unexpected Courage or Cram and draw another card. I mean, some cards that I found work well with Bilbo are the cards like Protector of Lorien, where you have to discard to keep using its effect. Solo, it's ideal because you're getting a constant 2 cards per turn, but when you're having to divide that 2, 3, or 4 times, you're not actually seeing the benefit of Bilbo's effect. So, for me, he's not a great hero, and he can stay in the box along with some of the other dud heroes that I do not use. How about yourself, David?
Well, I don't think it's a secret between you and I that I just don't like this version of Bilbo at all. When we talked about Frodo in that episode of Card Talk, you had mentioned, and rightly, that there was a lot riding on Frodo because of who he was in the lore of the Lord of the Rings. And then you also said with Frodo that they got him exactly right. And for however correct or right they got Frodo, Bilbo was definitely not right.
Yeah.
There's a common formula to determine a hero's threat cost, and it's their stat line plus hit points gives you their threat cost. And Bilbo's stat line plus hit points totals 6. And so his threat cost should be 6, or if drawing a card is that important, then maybe 7. There's very few heroes that break the rule of stat line plus hit points. Spirit Glorfindel breaks it the other way for a super overpowered ability. There's cards that break the rule, but it's usually by 1. Either way, for Bilbo to break the rule by 3, I just think that is way too much for getting to the stat line. Like you said, he's a dud hero that you can't, you're not going to use except for the card draw. You can use Círdan, you can use, and you talked about Ori, you talked about Pippin, but you didn't talk about Ori. If you're running a dwarf deck, or, you need to trigger those cards, but at least you're getting a hero that you can use. Yes. Now, having said that, I feel like I have to weigh out some of the other things. Is that extra card draw can be used with some other cards. You can use. You talked about Protector of Lorien, right?
Yeah.
But if you talk about Spirit Eowyn, where you can discard a card, you're drawing cards with Bilbo. So maybe if you have extra cards in your hand, you can take that Eowyn and you can discard cards to Eowyn to increase her willpower. That's a good pairing. Plus, it brings in the Spirit Sphere, which has those cards that you may want to use in order to help Bilbo out, like
Favor of the Lady.
Favor of the Lady, and things like that. If you're going to use a card draw hero, there's a couple other cards that pair with any card draw hero, like Spirit Arwen. You can trash card, and then you put a resource on some Spirit hero or Aragorn. You can use the Spirit Legolas, discard a card to ready a hero. If it's Gimli, then he gets +1 willpower. I mean, there's all sorts of cards that you can use to pair with Bilbo, but to use Bilbo as a hero, and you said it perfectly, Bilbo's not going to be used to attack, defend, and he doesn't have enough questing to make his questing, a constant quester in the game.
With Bilbo being part of the lore sphere, he has access to things like Fast Hitch and Burning Brand. They don't instinctively allow you to, say, quest, for example. Fast Hitch, you can ready your character once he's been exhausted to, say, quest. But if you're trying to make... But as you say, he's 1 willpower, you're not going to want him to quest. I mean, if you put a Burning Brand on him, Bilbo's defense, you could soak up some minor attacks from low attack point enemies, 1 or 2 attack point enemies, and you've just negated their shadow effect. But again, if you're going to use him use a defender, for the same sort of threat stat, go for Denethor.
Well, forget even using a hero. Go for an ally. You can have allies that cost a lot less that can do a lot more. And I don't mean to cut you off, but it's just like there's a lot of cards you can put in your deck to get the extra card draw. And the combination of the Steward of Gondor and the Rod of the Steward, the Steward of Gondor is a great all-around card that gives you the 2 extra resources per round, and then couple that with the Rod of the Steward, then you can draw a card for those 2 extra resources.
As far as Bilbo's concerned, thematically, they've got as an old man, which is right at the beginning of the Lord of the Rings set. He's 60 years on, so he's 111 or something at the beginning of the Fellowship book. So for that sense, yes, he's a more learned man at this point, or a learned hobbit, I should say. He's not so much as, give me a sword, I'm going into battle. He's just the case of, he's getting on in his life. So that's why I think they put him in his lore sphere, because he knows a little bit about a lot of things. Whereas
and I think the card art kind of reflects that too. He looks kind of older. He's hunched over writing his book about the travels with that.
He's also, if you look at him from the Hobbit series, as a young man, he gains such nice equipment, likes of Sting, the Mithril coat, which adds to his stat line, and you think, hey, come and get some, boys. I'm gonna stick you with Sting. Just do a recast of Bilbo, maybe in a different sphere, either in leadership when he took the dwarves out of like the out of Mirkwood, because we're following his lead by that point, or maybe in the tactics sphere where he's saving them from the spiders. At a cop.
And so, but I think it would not be unreasonable to put Bilbo out as a neutral hero, because of his importance and all the different traits he had. Aragorn isn't a neutral hero, but he's cast in 3 of the 4 spheres. Gandalf is a neutral hero. They hesitate to put characters in the neutral, but I think that Bilbo would be a perfect for what my idea of what the neutral sphere is, or what neutral cards are, because
Yeah.
he's something of everything. He's not Gandalf at all, but he is something of everything, like you say.
I mean, when they brought out the spirit version of Bilbo as an ally, I thought, great, now I've got something even better than
Right.
Bilbo to Hoy in a Hobbit deck.
Right.
With the original Bilbo, I just found him so lackluster. I mean, you had to do so much to get him to work right. I mean,
attacker.
using him as a defender, you've got, with the 3 warnings, he's defending for 5. Add a Burning Brand, there's not much that can break through a 5 defense hero. With a Burning Brand, you don't have to exactly worry about the nasty shadow effect of +1 attack, or mitigate the defense of an enemy, of the attack of the defending character.
Right.
So you don't actually have to worry about that. And with them being part of the Lore Sphere, you can get healing effects like self-preservation, the Daughters of the Nimrodale, Warden of Healing, just to name a few, that could strip off the damage.
Right.
But all in all, Bilbo just isn't cutting it these days.
No, I don't think he was cutting it ever.
Well, that's true.
Well, what do you think? What would you ring him at?
I'd ring him. I'd wring his neck.
Wrong version. That would be the WRING. We're talking about the RING.
Right, okay. For the ring version.
Yes.
I'd probably rate him an 8 out of sentimentality. He's not a great hero. He's probably one of the worst heroes to date, but I don't believe that there is a worst hero at the minute. But he's on the scale of being the bottom of the barrel, if not at the bottom of the barrel. So I'm ringing him an 8. How about yourself?
Well, I'm going to give him 9 rings, and I feel that that's kind of generous. That card draw ability and the fact that he's in the Lore Sphere are good. I just have a huge problem with the fact that his stat line does not add up to his threat. So 9 rings.
Okay, and join us next time where we talk about Boromir, the tactics hero from the Dead Marshes.
Thanks, everybody.